Hello, and welcome to Redstone for the Average Steve. This is episode 2, and this is going to be a bit of a continuation on our last episode, which was sending a signal. So in this episode, we're just going to be using a few of the other items to send redstone signals to different blocks. The first thing we're going to do here is go over the day-night sensor. So the day-night sensor will send a signal to the block whenever there is direct daylight on it. The other thing that I'm not sure everyone's aware of with the day-night sensor is that the day-night sensor is sensitive to the time of day. So it'll send less signal depending on the time of day. So I'll just show you that here. Time set night. And then you can see that this one went off. So at this time, the sun's down just enough so that only 3 blocks will get power. And then anything after that will be off. So as time goes down, you can see there it just jumped again 2 blocks now, and this one's still on because it's still being powered 2 blocks. And then as night falls more, it'll keep going down. The way you could use this is, okay, maybe now, maybe time before this, you would want lights to come on in your garden or something like that. You can use this to say, okay, before it's entirely dark, I want my lights to turn on. And that's why you can use this as an advantage there. Just about at pitch black now, and we should see both this light should go off and this one should no longer be getting a signal. And then I'll set it to day again so that we can move on. Let's see, come on now. There we go. So now it's entirely dark and it's no longer sending a signal. Time set day. Okay, now we move on to some pressure plates. Very similar to the wooden and stone. However, they don't get set off by mobs. This is the iron, and this is the gold pressure plate. I believe they're also called the heavy weighted pressure plate and the light weighted pressure plate. I believe I got that correct. And the reason they're called that I'll get into just a second, but first I'll show you how to trigger them, because right now you can see I'm not setting it off. The way these work are with items, and only items. So when you toss an item onto them, it'll send a signal. But the reason that this one's called a light pressure plate and that one's called a heavy one is because they're both affected by how much weight is on them. And it's not depending on the item, so all items weigh the same amount, from what I understand. Yes. See, both of those send one signal. But if you put on, let's say, I'll just toss a bunch on there, you can see I've moved on to the next signal. Toss a few more, we're at 4, toss a few more, and there. Now the light's finally on. So I don't know exactly the count for that there, but you can see the more items you toss, the farther the signal will go. And the iron pressure plate is very similar to that. The only difference is it takes a lot more items to send your signal. So I've tossed more than half a stack now, and we are still only on the first one. Or if I toss just like a few there, I've already moved on to the next one. So the way this one has to work is if I toss a whole stack, you get two stacks, I think we're at the third one, and then I think, there we go. So 3 full stacks to go. This is just 5 blocks. So yeah, these ones take a lot more items on them before they get to it, and that's what the difference is between those two. If you just want it to be that when an item drops on it, you could probably just get away with using a wooden pressure plate, because otherwise there's no point in wasting your iron or gold on just one of these things like this. Unless you're going for looks, that will work too. Now we'll move on to tripwire hooks. And for tripwire hooks you need 2 tripwires, tripwire hooks, sorry. And then for tripwire, you're going to use string. So just any spider string or, just spider string will work, or cobweb string. And basically the way you lay it out is you put the hooks on 2 blocks that are facing each other, and then you put your string on the same level as the blocks. So you can actually have this up a couple blocks as long as the string is going to them in the middle. And the way you know it's set is by, see the hooks are like this, facing up. And then once you have it connected, the hooks go down like that. And when this gets triggered, it's going to send redstone signal to the block that the hooks are on. This one and this one. So I could have a light up here, and when it's set off, that light would come on and this light would come on. And the way this is set off is you walk in front of it, or you trip over it, and those both get power. The other way this can be powered is if an item goes onto it. Items, mobs, or players. And those will stay on until the item or the player has moved on. So let's say you have a trap set up, you got a couple pieces of TNT hidden behind this, and you want your friend to walk on top of it. But your friend thinks he's clever, he can see your trap set up if you didn't hide it well enough. So he thinks he's being smart, and he'll just, oh, I'll just break that, it's not going to go off. But, did you see that? So when you break the redstone, the tripwire hook, it'll actually send one pulse to each of these blocks. That's where the light went on. So there, even though you broke it, all that T just blew up. And the other nice thing about the tripwire hooks is that they can go on for as long as you have spider string. So you can see here, I'm going to go all the way out here, and if I'm standing all the way over here and I go over the hook, that light still goes on. And I could take this out for a long ways. I mean, I probably couldn't even see this thing anymore and it would still be going off. And the nice thing about that is that there's no, I mean, you just need a lot of string. I don't know if your more valuable resource is string or redstone, but if you have 14 redstone, you can go this far and the light will go on. But if you have 15, it doesn't work. So that's 15 blocks of redstone signal, and it's not working because it's not far enough. With the tripwire hook, however, you can go on forever. It doesn't matter where you are, it'll still go on. It doesn't matter how far away you are. Yeah, to make this redstone signal go longer, you will need to use some kind of pulse extender, and that we'll get into in another episode. Not the next one, but I hope you enjoy this one. See you later.